Hello one and all, and welcome along to What the Ruck Just Happened, a little review over days 5 and 6 of the Rugby World Cup. Now, just one match per day took place over days 5 and 6, New Zealand versus Namibia and Argentina up against Georgia. Two matches, both from Pool C, that should, if they go as expected, be comfortable wins for the higher ranked sides, New Zealand and Argentina, and really, we should not be seeing anything too out of the ordinary here, but the way this Rugby World Cup has gone, anything is possible at all. So first up on day 5 of the Rugby World Cup, it was the All Blacks up against the Namibians, and this match, although it was the first time these two teams have ever met each other, it was a tale for the Namibians of getting out there, playing the champions, and just measuring themselves, trying to restrict them to as little points as possible as well. That is Namibia restricting the All Blacks, trying to score some points themselves, and really just having their impact on the Rugby World Cup. So, this match should be an easy canter for the All Blacks. That was what was expected, and they made a whole host of changes from their opening match against Argentina as well to accompany this game. So the first time these two sides met, and the All Blacks asserted dominance pretty much right from the outset. It took them just 5 minutes to score their first try, which come from Victor Vito. And in the end, it was the big shove right off the kickoff, really, that set the tone as the All Blacks pulled the kickoff in and just set up a massive rolling ball. They went along about 30 metres. Namibia not interested whatsoever in pushing it back, as it just seemed to happen, and the All Blacks just seemed to roll with it and roll upfield as it was as well. Namibia not expecting, I think, to instantly be drawn into the forward battle, but that is exactly what happened. Victor Vito was in for the opening try, 5 minutes in. A big burst from Julian Savea, who it seems they are trying to play into form by getting him out there for every single match. A lot of talk about Julian Savea. Will he start the next big match, or will Naholo be the one when he is fit, if he proves decent enough to be starting on the wing alongside Nehemiah Skudder, which is going to be a very interesting call to drop someone like Julian Savea, but we're going to see how Naholo goes in the future. But for now, Savea looking to force his way into form, and the try from Vito got them off to a good start straight away. The opening 10 minutes looked very ominous for the Namibians, as it was Nehemiah Skudder who found a huge amount of space out on his wing to find himself for his first try of the World Cup. You know, it was all looking very black for the All Blacks. Milner Skudder dots down in the 9th minute, and straight away it was 2 tries unresponded by the Namibians. As everyone expected, things were going swimmingly for the All Blacks, and really there was not much going the way of the Namibian side at all. The All Blacks were controlling everything from the outset, and they needed to really pull something out of the hat to the Namibians to just find a way into the game, just for their own good more than anything, and they did find it in the 13th minute as their fly half, Kutsa, got the first points for the Namibians, a penalty goal, and he showed he was a decent kicker as well. With all the shots at goal he did get, he was very much on target with his boot, which is great. You know, it's a very important thing is the goal kicking. Sonny Bill Williams, though, he was looking extremely good, and for those who doubted him before the World Cup and still didn't believe after the amazing performance he put in against Argentina, well, he was putting on a clinic here for everyone to see. His offload to Malakai Fekitoa for the 3rd try for the All Blacks was simply sublime. I don't know, sublime's not good enough superlative. It was world class. It was the best you'd ever see. Into the tackle, he had 3 or 4 players hanging off him. Still he offloaded perfectly, pinpoint, right on the line to Fekitoa, who scored the 3rd try for the All Blacks. What an offload it was. There's nothing more you can say, nothing less you can say, but that offload from Sonny Bill Williams was right there, top echelon stuff from the inside centre, who was really making a show for himself here without Fekitoa outside him. The All Blacks were humming at that point, 3 tries and just 1 penalty for the Namibians, but they did, to their credit, fight back, and they did score another 3 from the boot of Kotze as well, and then almost traded themselves a try-scoring opportunity thanks to a New Zealand crossfield kick. They went right into the arms of the Namibians. They could have been scampering away for their first try. A mistake. You know, the All Blacks are always going to try things in this game, but their mistakes were starting to let the Namibians into this game, who I think were concentrated completely around the overall thing of the match. You know, Namibia didn't just defend. I think they attacked just as equally as well as they defended as well, and they just could not keep up with the pace, the skill. The plays of the All Blacks were just a bit too much for the Namibians in the first half, as another try coming in for Beauden Barrett, who just showed his class, his acceleration and his speed. There's not many that match him, you know, around World Rugby for his speed and acceleration, and when you look just at Namibia, no one could even touch him. He shimmied through a little gap in the defensive line, and then like a bullet, he was off to the try line. And simply put, easy try, speed, acceleration, and Beauden Barrett. That's what he's all about, that's what he does, and that's what he did to the Namibians to score the All Blacks' 4th try in half an hour. And the fears that this would be a cricket score were just about starting to go into the back of people's mind, the way they were cleaning things up. Namibia were lucky not to get another yellow card for the tournament just before half time. A bit of a ruck breakdown, trying to clear out one of the Namibian defenders around the neck, pulling the player out. You know, we've seen already in this tournament that can get you a yellow card. This match was never going to be close, especially after the start the All Blacks has had as well. It was pretty bad, but I think, you know, do you punish something like that when it's such a lopsided game? But then on the other hand, you know, you should punish it regardless of what happens. Could have been better, could have been worse. In the end, it did go without a yellow card, but the All Blacks kept on territory and possession, and thanks to that, they got another try. This time, Nehe Milner-Skudder with number 2 right on the halftime break. A little grubber through the middle of the defensive line for Sonny Bill Williams, who else, to pick up and then fire it wide out to Nehe Milner-Skudder, who put in a diving finish that the NRL would be proud of, diving in the tackle, planting the ball while his body was floated up in the air to score another try. That is, 5 tries for the All Blacks in the first half. They are leading by an absolute pile at the moment. It was 34-6 at that break. 2 penalties, which I think Namibia should be happy that they got into those positions, and also to have the player that can kick them. I think they looked all right when they might come up against another lesser side. I'm thinking, you know, Tonga, Georgia might be interesting when they come up against those sides. Tonga, they should really beat them. The way we see Georgia get better over 4 years and beat the Tongans eventually. Both might prove a little too tough for the Namibians, but the way they played here, I expect them to go down, get penalties, kick goals, and develop themselves, construct themselves points on the board. So into the second half, and it was Namibia who got off to the better start too, with another penalty goal and another sublime shot as well. They were from quite far out too, some of these kicks from a Namibian fly half, and it was up to 34 points to 9. Namibia were on the comeback, and then Julian Savia. Then he happened. The bus getting a roll on and charging down through the defences, carrying players with him and diving in for the try. It's good to see him scoring tries. It's good to see him coming back into the action, but they weren't normal, typical Julian Savia tries. They weren't out wide, pace and power. These were close in, looking for work and charging through. Still got the strength, but just doesn't seem to have the confidence and, you know, the balance that he had in previous years. And I think that's just down to form that we should see come back to him, hopefully for New Zealand's sakes, over the next 3 or 4 weeks as well. The changes were coming as well for both teams, as Namibia were putting on some good defensive pressure in the second half. They were actually forcing New Zealand back when New Zealand had the ball, which is something they should definitely take pride in as well. And then Namibia set themselves up for a massive opportunity. They had a penalty. They kicked for touch. The crowd were going absolutely bananas, as you'd expect, as they do with these minnow sides against the big teams. They kicked for touch. They wanted a try. They determined to get a try. And guess what? Believe it or not, they're defying all odds. Namibia scored a try. Dysel going over in the 50th minute. And a great little try it was. It was a good play for Namibia. It was a decent play. Give them credit. It was a nice play. It was basic and simple, executed well, but the All Blacks defence was atrocious. Absolutely horrible, falling off tackles, 2 or 3 players getting bumped backwards. It was a horrible defence from the All Blacks, but credit to Namibia to go through 3 defenders like that, play build up brilliantly as well, get into the position, and then play your set piece away, score the try. Credit to them. They fought hard, they fought well, and the try was eventually scored. The inside centre, Johan Dysel Jr. getting the try for Namibia, and he will be a legend in Namibian rugby circles as well, to score a try against the All Blacks, the world champions at the time. That is something that no other Namibian can take claim for. To play against the All Blacks is something only 22 of them can claim to, as well as one of them didn't make it off the bench. So that alone is massive for the Namibians. They got the try, and they'll be happy, very happy with how that has gone as well. But amongst all the jubilation and joy of scoring a try against the All Blacks, then come the bad part. A yellow card. It had to happen, didn't it? It really had to happen. 13 cards in 12 matches. And it was a loose head prop. Jaco Engels getting the yellow card and sent off for 10 minutes. And that really did finish the match completely for the Namibians, who had a bit of momentum here. They scored a try, they were feeling good, and it was dashed in an absolute instant. The All Blacks had a lot of possession after that, and they were 5 metres out from the Namibians' line for quite a period of time. Eventually, Ben Smith did score the try, but you have to say the Namibians held them out for quite a long time to stop them actually scoring, which they'll have to take a lot of be pleased about, take a lot of credit for, just how long they kept the All Blacks out. They did get penalised a lot, and if the try eventually did come from a set play, from a scrum, but all in all, credit to the Namibians. With that try, they gained confidence, and they got a lot more into the match, and the defence improved tenfold as well. But after that, I think the game really fell apart, completely fell apart. The game slowed down to almost a standstill, which is probably the biggest talking point I'll take from this match. Just how much this match slowed down completely. Namibia did everything. There was substitutes absolutely flying from here to Mars, just on and off, changing, chopping, changing, yellow card, man off, man on, flanker on, back off, centre off, inside back off, prop off, flanker off, lock off, centre on. It was just absolutely dreadful. There was that. They were just slowing the game down completely. They were, talking, arguing with the referee. They were just doing everything they could to slow this game down, which, I can understand where they're coming from their perspective, to slow this game down, keep it as low a score as possible. But the one I blame for that actually being allowed to carry on is the referee. And it's easy to blame the referee. It's easy to say when you're listening to it, but when you come to actually say it yourself, it's not that simple. But the Frenchman, Romain Poit, was the one in command, and he let it go. He let it just comfortable to let the Namibians do what they like, piss around, waste time, summon players here, there, and everywhere. It lost structure, it lost completely everything. The All Blacks were just standing around. The Namibians were down, sucking up the big ones, while the All Blacks were just, like they were fresh, ready to go for the match. That's a testament to their fitness, but this is a game where they'd want these outside players, wider group players, to be able to get into the World Cup fitness and plays and get into the matches, get into the competition, and it was just being ruined by this horrifically slow game that the ref was letting just go absolutely nowhere at all. It was just so slow. at all. No, nothing was happening. The scrum would take 10 minutes. And I think it's coming out in the media as well saying that from the second half there was only about 14 minutes of play or something like that, which is absolutely dreadful. Absolutely horrible. And I believe it would be something like that as well from just how bad that second half was. Namibia continued on though, and they were very passionate and they controlled their gameplay very well. When they had the ball, they seemed to have a game plan. They seemed to know what they were doing, and they were very committed to what they were trying to do, which I think is the biggest thing they can take. They defended pretty well for the most part. They scored a try. They executed their plans pretty well as well. I think Namibia should go out of this with their heads held high and look to really put something decent up against one of the other weaker sides like Georgia and Tonga from this Group C. So the game carried on, of course. Savia got another try, a short play off of Morley Charleston, big smashing run. Julian Savia in for his second try, which again is always great to see. Namibia got some late chances as well, but in the end, it did lead to nothing for them, and they finished the match up with 14 points, which I think they should be extremely proud of, to score double figures, a try and 3 penalties against the All Blacks. Is definitely a proud moment for the Namibians. The All Blacks finished things off with a crossfield kick to Nehemiah Milner-Skata, who found Cody Taylor, who played the whole match in the front row at hooker, and that was the final pretty much play of the game. I think for the All Blacks, Sonny Bill Williams was very good, Nehemiah Milner-Skata was very good, Victor Vito also has shown his form continued on into the World Cup after impressing in the Rugby Championship latter stages as well. But one man who I won't say played well, but Julian Savia, he got 2 tries, which is all well and good, but he was better. You know, we've seen some pretty average performances from Savia over recent time. That one was a definite improvement from the big winger. Final score, 58-14, the highest score in the Rugby World Cup so far by any side. Our next match went pretty close to that as well, but the All Blacks continued on their merry way. A lot of people not happy with that performance that they put together, but a win is a win, and it was a very big team looking squad. Almost not many that would start a first quarter-final or something like that for the All Blacks, but that is something they can take with them and move on to their next stage of the competition. And they are well and truly now favourites to go through top of the pool. The only other team that will even get close to them will be Argentina, and they were in action up against Georgia in day 6 of the Rugby World Cup. Now this match was interesting for the fact that the Georgians were pretty high on life after beating Tonga. Argentina, on the other hand, gave the All Blacks a good run, but ultimately they went down in their opening match. So this match had the looks that there could possibly be a close one. There could be the chance of an upset with the way the Georgians played against Tonga, but all indications pointed towards Argentina finishing this job off and getting a big win and carrying on to their second spot in Pool C. Now the interesting thing about this was that the Argentinians, and playing these weaker sides like Georgia, they seem to have lost their sting. We've seen it with Japan, you know, first ambush out of the bushes against the Springboks, then they lost their sting when it came up to the second game against Scotland. Some saying it's the refs' fault, whatever. The refs have a lot to answer for from this World Cup already, but still, that second match, they seem to have lost their impact, and it's something we kind of seen here today with Georgia up against the Argentinians, although we do go back to the referees and possibly the fact that another yellow card spoiled the chance the Georgians had of competing in this match. So the Argentinians put out a pretty strong side as well. A must-win game for them, and they kick things off in remarkable fashion as well. A drop goal, of all things. A drop goal to kick the match off, and that really got them their first points, obviously, of course, but just the fact that they went for points rather than, you know, a try when they were that close to the line. It was, of course, Nicolas Sanchez looking for that ugly drop goal. It was a horrible drop goal, half charged down, wobbly as you like, but it did eventually wobble on through the sticks, and that was 3 points for Argentina. But what a way to start to go for the drop goal. It didn't take them too long after that drop goal. Just another 4 minutes before big second rower Lavanini stormed over for the opening try for Argentina. Big space out wide for the big man. A huge overlap up, some big pressure on the Georgian line as well. And there's not much you can say about that try apart from space, room, and a massive ball over the last defender's head as well from Sanchez, delivering the pass that ultimately led to a big overlap and heaps of space for Lavanini. The Georgians open their scoring with a penalty, and it seems to be there's a lot. Well, they actually got a couple of penalties around this point, but they got these penalties from the defenders diving at the feet. It's something I have noticed creeping into this Rugby World Cup with mainly the smaller sides as well. Just players falling over and taking out people's feet, the attackers' feet in defence. You know, they just go and just flop over in front of them and chop them off their knees. Not really with any use of arms or any really conventional tackle way at all. Just plopping down in front of them, they fall over, chopping them off around the knees. Now, that got penalised by the referee for this one. Now, that's obviously getting pretty heavily penalised now as it creeps more and more into the game. Players not using their arms at all when they go down to make the tackle on the attacking player. But they were saying it was disappointing. Georgia did nail another penalty near to half-time from near on 50 metres away, which is just an absolute huge kick. And that was smashed by Kavurikashvili, who's had a pretty good tournament by his standards. He kicked all right against Tonga, but he showed how good he can be, smashing that kick from miles away. Near on 50 metres, like I said, a massive kick against the Argentinians. 14-9 was a half-time score. Not much in it between the two sides either. Just the one try to Lavanini and penalties and the drop goal, of course, going to Sanchez. Was all the Argentinians had to call on, which was amazing because Georgia were really in this match. But there's always a but, and it seems to always come straight after half-time. Another big call, but no real surprise. It was 49, the half-time score, and the inspirational captain. Who else? You know, something that really hurt the Georgians. Gorgodze going to the yellow card sin bin for infringing at a ruck. I mean, could there be a worse player to send off from a Georgian team? Gorgodze he has been easily their best player, easily their most influential player as well. To have him gone for 10 minutes really was a kick in the guts for the Georgians, who are really in this match. But, you know, that's the way it's gone. A 14th yellow card in the 13th game. It's just a trend. It's always going to be a card somewhere along the way. It was disgusting, really. And the Georgians lost their way completely after they lost their captain. So it was a massive blow to lose Gorgodze, of course, and then the Argentinians really got their guns going. A 5-metre scrum out from the Georgian line, and Kubeli, short-side little scrum move, he scooped around, fended off the one tackler, had the overlap, just committed the defender as well, and put himself in for the try. Argentina, and again, Kubeli, great work from him. Then Wanamov got on the act in the 48th minute, scoring a try of his own. And then, of course, one of the best tries I've ever seen, going to one man who I've heard a lot about, seen a lot about as well, but really haven't seen the best of him to really understand why Argentina rate him so highly. But Santiago Cordero, I am sold, my friend. I am sold as to how spectacularly brilliant you are. What a try! He scored on the halfway line from a line-out set move from Argentina. It went through a couple of big men in the back, doubling, turning, popping passes, and then through goes Cordero. And man, he's got some pace. He is electrically fast. And then the step of his right foot, putting the defender absolutely bamboozled. And then he slides in for the try. One of the best tries I've seen of the Rugby World Cup as well. That was a fantastic move. I can't think of enough superlatives for this try, but the pace that which he made the break at, hit straight through, the speed away from the defenders, the step was the step was magical, and then the speed to the line. One of the best tries we have seen from any team so far in this competition. Then it was more tries as well as It was Landaho who got one in the 69th minute. The Georgians were back to 15 men. Another simple try for Argentina, and the pain just kept coming for the Georgians. They just completely lost their way with a yellow card. Cordero. Santiago Cordero. I think he goes down as one of the favourites from this Rugby World Cup for me. 75th minute, he goes in for a second try, but wow, he's special. He's special. He is. I believe all the Argentinians out there now saying that Santiago Cordero, not only does he have a fantastic name, but he is one fantastic little player. He's fast, he's got a step, he's hard to put away, he's got all the skills to really set a team alight, and he showed them all in his second try as well, screaming down the touchline on the right-hand side. Then he did a little show and go for the fullback, drew him infield, and then cut back to the touchline and just beat him out and out for pace. A great try for Cordero. It just finished off the Georgians completely. And then in the end, there's still another try to come. Don't worry about that. Plenty more action to come. It was Wanamov who got his second try of the game as well. A clinical display from the Argentinians, and just something the Georgians could not hang on to. The yellow card, ultimately, I have to say, the yellow card is what changed the match. That really killed the Georgians. They took their captain away, and they lost the plot. They lost direction. They lost their big man. They lost their talisman. And it was all curtains after that. And the Argentinians cashed in on a game that could have possibly been close. Was it always going to happen? Were Argentina always going to fire away with it? Or was it the yellow card that finished off the Georgians completely? As always, I'm always interested in your opinions as well throughout these matches. It's good to see Argentina showing good form. I'm a big fan of the Argentinian side. Players like Juan Martin Hernandez, Santiago Cordero, of course, now. Tucalet, the fullback, great little players. Both scrum halves for Argentina, Cabelli and Landaho, fantastic. I think Creevy really shows a great command about his players as well. He's becoming a really good captain for this Argentinian side, and they have plenty of grunt, of course, in their second row. Even with the absence of Galaza, they seem to be coping all right as long as they don't lose anyone else. And of course, the big men in the back row seem to do their job fantastically. The options are all there for the Argentinians. Bosch getting some kicks as well. Georgia, they'll be disappointed. They'll be utterly disappointed to be so in this match at halftime. 14-9, only less than a converted try away, and they just couldn't really push on and threaten the Argentinians. But yellow card, yellow card, yellow card. 14 yellows in 13 matches. We have plenty more action coming up, though, for you all to tune into, so get those, sleeping caps on if you're from my part of the world, and don't fall asleep, because for Saturday, day 7 of the Rugby World Cup, 3 matches, and 2 of them are massive. Well, 3 of them are massive, let's be fair here. Italy versus Canada to kick us off. And that could be a big match if the Canadians actually show up. They didn't at all versus Ireland. Showed a couple of glimpses, but that could be interesting. But I expect the Italians to scamper away with that one. South Africa, Samoa. Do I need to say anything else about that? South Africa need to win. The Samoans are a tricky prospect for the Proteas. And finally will be the English, the hosts, up against Wales. Our final match of day 7. Massive match. Huge match in the overall scheme of this Rugby World Cup, especially Pool A. A win here for England could really hurt the hopes of Wales, whereas the other way around could be very damaging. We get to see Australia really be matched. Oh, I am expecting fireworks to come out of that pool from next week's matches when the Wallabies start to get in action against England and matches like that. I cannot wait till next weekend where we seem to get that England-Australia match. Should be next Saturday. Cannot wait for that one, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you all there as we go through this action. Plenty more to come, plenty more discussions. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Let me know your thoughts of these games as well, and I'll see you all next time for What the Ruck Just Happened. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all later. Until then, take care.